The meeting hall of the Galactic Council was enormous. It stretched for hundreds of meters in every direction, with seats arranged in circular tiers that rose toward a domed ceiling made of transparent crystal. Through that ceiling, delegates could see the stars of 17 different systems, all united under the Council's banner of peace and cooperation. Ambassador Kelrith stood at his station, his tall frame covered in the traditional robes of Zenthar Prime. His species had been part of the Council for over 2,000 years, and he had personally overseen the admission of 6 new civilizations during his tenure. Today should have been routine. Earth had submitted their application for membership 3 months ago, and all initial assessments had come back positive. But something was wrong. Kelrith looked down at his datapad, reading the report for the 5th time. Next to him, his assistant Vixtal shifted nervously. She was young for a council researcher, barely 200 years old, but her work was always thorough. The problem was not her research. The problem was what she had found. "Are you certain about this?" Kelrith asked quietly. "Yes, Ambassador. I have verified the data multiple times. I even thought there might be a translation error in their information networks, but there is not. This is accurate." Kelrith sighed deeply. Below them, the human delegation was entering the hall. They walked with confident strides, their faces showing pleasant expressions. The leader was Commander Jake Morrison, a military officer from Earth's Defense Fleet. Next to him walked Dr. Lisa Hamilton, a scientist who specialized in alien biology. Behind them came Captain Greg Bennett, who had been part of Earth's first contact team. The humans looked normal enough. They were bipedal, roughly 2 meters tall, with bilateral symmetry and forward-facing eyes. They breathed oxygen, consumed organic matter for energy, and communicated through vocalized sounds. Nothing about their appearance suggested anything unusual, but appearances could be deceiving. Jake Morrison reached the center platform and bowed slightly, a gesture of respect his people had learned from the Council's cultural database. "Honorable delegates," he began, his voice clear and steady. "We come before you today representing the people of Earth. We seek membership in this great council, and we pledge to uphold its values of peace, cooperation, and mutual understanding." It was a good speech. Jake had practiced it many times. Lisa stood beside him, ready to answer any technical questions about human biology or Earth's ecosystem. Greg remained alert, his military training evident in his posture. Kelrith activated his speaking platform. "Commander Morrison, we welcome you and your companions. Earth has presented a strong application. Your technology is adequate, your society is stable, and your intentions appear genuine. However, we have discovered certain behaviors among your people that require explanation." Jake looked confused. "Behaviors, Ambassador? Could you be more specific?" Kelrith gestured to the main display screen. Images began to appear. Humans falling through the sky. Humans climbing vertical rock faces. Humans riding boards down mountains covered in frozen water. Humans diving deep into oceans. Humans jumping from bridges with elastic cords attached to their legs. The council chamber filled with murmurs of concern. Delegates from peaceful species watched in horror. Even the warrior races looked disturbed. "Commander Morrison," Kelrith continued, "can you explain why your people engage in these activities? Our analysis shows that these behaviors result in frequent injuries and occasional fatalities. Yet humans participate in them voluntarily. They even pay resources to do so." Jake looked at the images and then back at Kelrith. His confusion was genuine. "Ambassador, those are recreational activities. Sports and hobbies. People do them for fun." "Fun," Kelrith repeated slowly. "You find danger enjoyable?" "Well, yes. I mean, they're not really that dangerous if you do them properly. There are safety measures, training requirements, equipment standards. People take these activities seriously." Lisa stepped forward. "If I may add, Ambassador, these activities provide physical exercise, mental stimulation, and social bonding opportunities. They also help humans develop skills like risk assessment, problem solving, and stress management." Vixtal leaned toward Kelrith and whispered urgently, "Ambassador, I have more data. It gets worse. Kelrith pulled up the additional files. His expression grew more concerned. Commander Morrison, we have also discovered that humans engage in physical combat with each other for recreation. Boxing, wrestling, mixed martial arts. You strike each other repeatedly, often causing injury, and this is considered entertainment. Greg spoke up for the first time. Those are regulated sports with rules and safety protocols. Nobody is trying to cause serious harm. It is about testing yourself, improving your skills, pushing your limits. Pushing your limits, Kelrith said. This phrase appears frequently in human culture, along with terms like adrenaline rush, thrill-seeking, and extreme sports. Commander, in the 3,000 years since the Council was founded, we have never encountered a species that seeks danger for pleasure. Every intelligent race develops safety protocols and risk avoidance behaviors. It is fundamental to survival. Jake spread his hands. Ambassador, with respect, we do have safety protocols. We do avoid unnecessary risks. But we also believe that life is meant to be experienced fully. Yes, some activities involve danger, but they also involve joy, accomplishment, and personal growth. They make us feel alive. The council chamber erupted in debate. Delegates argued in dozens of languages, their translation devices creating a symphony of concerned voices. Some called for immediate rejection of Earth's application. Others demanded more investigation. A few suggested that humans might be suffering from a species-wide psychological disorder. Kelrith raised his hand for silence. Commander Morrison, I must be direct with you. The Council cannot approve membership for a species we do not understand. Your recreational danger suggests either severe psychological instability or adaptation to an impossibly hostile homeworld. Before we can proceed, we must investigate further. Jake looked at Lisa and Greg. They held a quick, whispered conversation. Finally, Jake nodded. We understand your concerns, Ambassador. We welcome any investigation you wish to conduct. We have nothing to hide. Come to Earth, observe our culture, speak with our people. We believe that once you understand us better, you will see that we are not crazy or suicidal. We are just human. Kelrith considered this. Very well. I will personally lead an investigation team to Earth. We will observe these recreational activities, interview participants, and attempt to understand your relationship with danger. This is highly irregular, but then again, everything about humanity appears to be irregular. Jake smiled. Thank you, Ambassador. I think you will find Earth interesting. Interesting, Kelrith muttered as the human delegation departed. The investigation team arrived on Earth 2 days later. Their ship landed at a facility in Colorado, a mountainous region in the western part of North America. Kelrith stepped off the transport first, followed by 3 other council members he had carefully selected for this mission. Jarn was a military analyst from the Krolix Empire, a warrior race that valued strength and discipline. If anyone could understand humans from a tactical perspective, it would be him. His scaled skin gleamed in Earth sunlight, and his powerful frame towered over most of the humans present. Mira came from the Pelean Collective, a species of sociologists and cultural experts. Her people had mastered the art of understanding social structures, and she would analyze human behavior patterns. She was smaller than Kelrith, with 6 delicate limbs and large, observant eyes. The 4th member was Quendo, widely considered the galaxy's foremost expert on sapient psychology. His species had evolved from hive creatures but had developed individual consciousness over millions of years. He understood both collective and individual thought patterns better than anyone else in council space. Waiting for them at the landing site were 2 humans. Amy Stevens was their official liaison officer, a woman in her early 30s with short brown hair and a warm smile. Next to her stood Danny Pierce, who wore what appeared to be outdoor clothing and carried several bags of equipment. Welcome to Earth, Amy said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. Kelrith had learned about handshakes from the cultural database and carefully grasped her hand. It felt strange, this physical contact, but not unpleasant. Thank you for receiving us, Kelrith replied. I hope our investigation will not be too disruptive to your normal activities. Danny laughed, a sound that Kelrith had learned indicated amusement rather than distress. Not disruptive at all, Ambassador. We are actually excited to show you what we do. Amy and I have put together a demonstration schedule that should give you a good overview of our recreational activities. The word demonstration made Kelrith nervous, but he had committed to this investigation. Very well. What will we observe first? Skydiving, Amy said cheerfully. Kelrith felt his internal organs tighten with concern. You mean the activity where humans fall from aircraft at high altitude? That is the one, Danny confirmed. We thought we would start with something iconic. Do not worry. You will be perfectly safe on the ground watching us. They traveled by ground vehicle to what humans called a drop zone. It was a large open area with a building, several aircraft, and groups of humans preparing equipment. Kelrith watched as participants put on special suits, checked parachutes, and went through safety briefings. A young woman named Katie Logan was among the skydivers. She had over 300 jumps recorded in her logbook. Amy explained that Katie was an experienced jumper, but not exceptional by human standards. Some people had completed thousands of jumps. Why? Quendu asked suddenly. Why would someone jump from an aircraft thousands of times? Katie overheard the question and walked over. Because it is amazing, she said simply. There is nothing else like it. The freefall, the wind, the view, the feeling of flying. Every jump is different, and every jump teaches you something new. But you could die, Mira pointed out. I could die driving my car to work, Katie replied. Or I could slip in my shower. Life has risks. I choose to manage those risks while doing something I love. The aircraft took off with Katie and 7 other jumpers aboard. The investigation team watched it climb into the sky. Kelrith felt increasingly anxious as the plane became smaller and smaller. Finally, at an altitude of over 4,000 meters, the door opened. Through binoculars, they watched the humans exit the aircraft. One by one, they simply stepped into empty air and fell. Katie was the third one out. She spread her arms and legs, stabilizing her body position, and then began performing turns and flips. She is enjoying herself, Jarn observed, his tone incredulous. Look at her face. Indeed, even from the ground with magnification, they could see Katie's expression. She was smiling, laughing even. The other jumpers formed up together, holding hands briefly before separating. They fell for nearly a minute before deploying their parachutes. The canopies opened with sharp cracks. The jumpers, now descending slowly under fabric wings, guided themselves toward the landing area. Katie touched down lightly, took a few running steps, and then collapsed her parachute with practiced ease. She walked over to the investigation team, still grinning. So, what did you think? Kelrith struggled to find words. You appeared to be enjoying yourself. Best part of my week, Katie confirmed. Want to go up? We can do tandem jumps where you are attached to an experienced instructor. Perfectly safe. All 4 council members declined immediately. The next demonstration took place at a rock climbing area. Danny Pierce led them to a cliff face that rose vertically for several hundred meters. Kelrith stared up at the sheer stone wall and felt dizzy. Humans climb this? Mira asked. Watch, Danny said. A man named Ryan Cooper began climbing. He moved slowly and carefully, placing his hands and feet in small cracks and on tiny ledges. There was a rope attached to his harness, but Kelrith understood from the briefing that the rope only caught him if he fell. It did not pull him up or support his weight. Ryan climbed for over an hour, moving steadily upward. The investigation team watched in tense silence. Several times, Ryan paused to rest, hanging from the rock face by his fingertips. Eventually, he reached the top, secured himself, and then descended by rope. Why not simply walk to the top? Jarn asked. There is a trail. Ryan smiled. Where's the challenge in that? Climbing is about problem solving, physical skill, and mental focus. Every route is a puzzle to solve, plus the view is better when you earn it. That evening, the investigation team gathered in their accommodation to discuss what they had observed. Kelrith initiated the recording system for their official report. Day 1 observations, he began. Humans engage in dangerous recreational activities with full awareness of the risks involved. They implement safety measures but accept that those measures are not perfect. Most concerning, they derive pleasure from these activities. Participants describe feelings of joy, accomplishment, and excitement. Quen Du added his analysis. I conducted psychological evaluations on 12 participants today. None showed signs of mental instability, trauma responses, or impaired judgment. By council standards, they are completely sane, yet they voluntarily place themselves in danger. Their physical capabilities are impressive, Jarn noted. Ryan Cooper's climb required strength, endurance, and spatial awareness that would challenge even Krolik's warriors. Yet he described it as recreational, not training. Mira had been reviewing social data. These activities are widespread across human culture. Every geographic region has its own dangerous sports. Every age group participates, from children to elderly humans. It is deeply embedded in their civilization. Kelrith rubbed his temples, a gesture he had picked up from watching humans. Tomorrow we will observe more activities: water sports, mountain sports, and combat sports. We must understand the full scope of this behavior before we can make recommendations to the council. The next morning brought surfing demonstrations. Humans balanced on narrow boards while riding ocean waves that crashed with tremendous force. Several participants fell off their boards repeatedly, but climbed back on and tried again. A woman named Helen Price explained wave dynamics, board design, and safety protocols. She had been surfing for 20 years and had suffered a broken arm, multiple cuts from coral, and one near-drowning experience. Yet she surfed every week without fail. The ocean is powerful, Helen said. You have to respect it, but when you catch a good wave, when you ride it perfectly, there is no better feeling in the world. Mountain biking came next. Humans rode bicycles down steep, rocky trails at high speeds. They jumped over obstacles, navigated tight. After 5 days of observations, Kelrith felt more confused than when they had arrived. Every activity demonstrated human willingness to face danger, yet none of the participants seemed reckless or unstable. They were intelligent, thoughtful people who simply had a different relationship with risk than any other species in the galaxy. On the 6th day, something unexpected happened. Jarn approached Danny Pierce with an unusual request. I want to try rock climbing, the Krolik's warrior announced. Everyone stopped talking. Kelrith stared at his military analyst in disbelief. Jarn, that is not why we are here. We are observers, not participants. How can we truly understand if we only watch? Jarn asked. I have analyzed the safety systems. The risks are calculated and manageable. I want to experience what the humans experience. Danny looked at Amy, who looked at Kelrith. The ambassador considered the request carefully. Jarn was right that direct experience might provide insights observation could not. And the Krolik's warrior was certainly physically capable. His species had evolved as predators with powerful limbs and excellent coordination. Very well, Kelrith said finally. But if this goes poorly, the council will hear about it in my report. They went to an indoor climbing gym, a facility designed for beginners. The walls were artificial, covered with colored holds that provided grips for hands and feet. Thick mats covered the floor below, and safety ropes hung from the ceiling. Ryan Cooper would serve as Jarn's instructor. He helped the alien fit a climbing harness around his unusual body shape and explained the basic safety system. Another climber named Steve Morris would manage the rope from below, ready to catch Jarn if he fell. Start with this easy route, Ryan said, pointing to a path marked with green holds. Take your time. Focus on your feet, not your hands. Your legs are stronger, so let them do most of the work. Jarn approached the wall. His first movements were awkward, his powerful muscles not yet calibrated for the precise balance climbing required. But he was a warrior, trained in body control and tactical thinking. He began to figure it out. Kelrith watched as Jarn climbed higher. 3 meters, 5 meters, 7 meters. The Krolix's scaled face showed intense concentration. His clawed hands gripped the holds firmly, and his legs pushed him steadily upward. Then something remarkable happened. Jarn reached a difficult section where the holds were spaced far apart. He paused, studying the problem. Then he made a dynamic move, pushing off with his legs and reaching for a distant hold. His hand caught it solidly, and he pulled himself up to the next position. From the ground, Kelrith could see Jarn's expression change. The warrior was smiling. When Jarn reached the top and was lowered back down, he was breathing heavily but looked energized. "That was incredible," he said. "I want to do it again, a harder route this time." Over the next 2 hours, Jarn climbed 6 different routes, each more difficult than the last. Ryan provided guidance and encouragement, treating the alien warrior exactly as he would any new climber. By the end of the session, Jarn had developed a basic understanding of climbing technique and an unmistakable enthusiasm for the sport. That evening, Kelrith confronted his colleague. "Jarn, what happened today? You enjoyed the climbing." "Yes," Jarn admitted. "I did not expect to, but I did. When I was on that wall, solving the puzzle of each move, pushing my body to reach the next hold, I felt something I have never experienced before. It was not just physical exertion. It was engagement, focus, and yes, excitement." "This is concerning," Kelrith said. "If human behavior is contagious, if other species begin seeking recreational danger, it could destabilize the entire Council's safety framework. Or, Mira suggested quietly, it could reveal that our safety framework has limitations we have never acknowledged." Kelrith did not sleep well that night. His mind churned with questions that had no easy answers. The investigation was supposed to determine whether humans were suitable for council membership. Instead, it was forcing him to question assumptions he had held for centuries. The next day, Jake Morrison invited Kelrith on what he called a simple hike. Just walking through mountain terrain, no extreme activities involved. Kelrith agreed, hoping that time alone with the human commander might provide clarity. They drove to a trailhead in Rocky Mountain National Park. Sophie Mitchell, a park ranger, accompanied them as a guide. The 3 of them set off on a trail that wound upward through pine forests and across alpine meadows. The walk was pleasant. Earth's atmosphere felt comfortable, the temperature moderate, and the scenery stunning. But Kelrith noticed something about his companions. Jake and Sophie moved through the environment with constant awareness. They watched the trail ahead, commented on weather patterns in the distance, and pointed out animal tracks in the mud. "You are always assessing," Kelrith observed. "Even on a simple walk, you are evaluating conditions and potential hazards." Jake nodded. "It is second nature after a while. You notice things, calculate risks, make decisions. It is not paranoia, just awareness." They stopped for rest near a mountain stream. Sophie pulled food from her pack and shared it. As they ate, Jake asked a question that surprised Kelrith. "Ambassador, what do your people do for recreation? How do you challenge yourselves?" Kelrith considered this. "We have games of strategy and intellect. We create art and music. We socialize and discuss philosophy. Our activities are safe and civilized." "But do they excite you?" Jake pressed. "Do they make your heart race, test your limits, force you to grow?" "Growth does not require danger," Kelrith replied. Sophie spoke up. "Maybe not. But sometimes danger teaches lessons that safety cannot. When you face a real challenge, when you overcome genuine fear, you learn things about yourself. You discover capabilities you did not know you had." That evening, as the sun set over the mountains, they made camp. Jake built a fire using techniques passed down through countless generations of humans. They sat around the flames as darkness fell and stars emerged overhead. "Tell me something," Kelrith said. "Why do humans seek danger? What drives this behavior?" Jake poked the fire with a stick, sending sparks drifting upward. "I have thought about that question a lot since we first met the Council. I think it comes down to how we see life. We know it is precious because we know it is fragile. We know it is valuable because we have to fight for it." "Earth was not kind to us," Sophie added. "Our planet challenged us constantly. Climate changes, predators, diseases, natural disasters. We survived by becoming adaptable, clever, and brave. We learned to face problems directly rather than hide from them," Jake continued. Recreational danger is not about being reckless. It is about maintaining skills we needed for survival. Risk assessment, quick decision-making, physical capability, mental toughness. Those traits kept us alive for millions of years. We do not need them for survival anymore, not in the same way, but they are still part of who we are. And beyond survival? Kelrith asked. Beyond survival, they help us live fully, Jake said. When you push yourself, when you face something difficult and overcome it, you feel alive in a way that comfort and safety cannot provide. You build confidence, develop resilience, create memories that matter. Life feels more valuable when you are aware of its risks. Kelrith stared into the fire. The flames danced and shifted, neither entirely predictable nor completely chaotic. There was something profound in Jake's words, something that resonated despite his instinct to reject it. My species eliminated most dangers thousands of years ago, Kelrith said slowly. We created safe environments, established strict protocols, removed risk from daily life. We believed this was progress. We believed this made us advanced. Did it make you happy? Sophie asked gently. Kelrith did not answer immediately. He thought about his life, his culture. The demonstration Jake promised never happened. Instead, something far more serious occurred. The investigation team was touring an emergency response training facility when the alarm sounded. Not training alarms, but real emergency signals from the council station orbiting Earth. Kelrith's communication device activated immediately with an urgent message from Station Command. Ambassador, we have a serious situation. A cargo transport collided with Maintenance Section 7. Hull breach in progress. 17 workers trapped in a depressurizing compartment. We need immediate assistance. Kelrith felt his blood run cold. What is the status of rescue operations? Standard protocols initiated. Emergency equipment is being dispatched from the nearest council facility. Estimated arrival time is 2 hours. 2 hours? Kelrith could barely speak. The workers do not have 2 hours. We understand, Ambassador. We are working as quickly as protocols allow. The transmission ended. Kelrith stood frozen, his mind racing through the implications. 17 people were dying, and council procedures were too slow to save them. It was unacceptable, but he did not know what alternative existed. Jake Morrison had been listening. He immediately began speaking into his own communication device, summoning members of the human delegation. Within minutes, Katie Logan, Danny Pierce, Ryan Cooper, and pilot Helen Price arrived at the facility. What are you doing? Kelrith asked. Going to save those workers, Jake said simply. He was already pulling on emergency gear. Helen, prep the shuttle for immediate launch. Katie, grab the climbing equipment. Danny, Ryan, you know what we need. Move fast. Commander Morrison, this is not your responsibility, Kelrith protested. The council has procedures. Your procedures take 2 hours. Those workers have maybe 30 minutes. Jake checked his equipment with practiced efficiency. Ambassador, we can do this. We have the skills, the experience, and the equipment. But we need to leave now. Jarn stepped forward. I am coming with you. Everyone turned to look at the Krolix warrior. Kelrith started to object, but Jarn cut him off. I have trained in zero-gravity combat. I have climbing skills now thanks to Ryan. I can help. And I will not stand by while people die because of bureaucratic delays. 2 other council observers, inspired by Jarn's example, also volunteered. Mira and a young engineer named Lax from the Mendari species both insisted on joining the rescue team. Kelrith made a decision that would either save lives or end his career. Go. I will take responsibility for authorizing this. But Morrison, if you get anyone killed including yourself, I will spend the rest of my life regretting this decision. Jake met his eyes. We will bring them all back. You have my word. The shuttle launched within 10 minutes, an impossibly fast response time by council standards. Kelrith remained on the surface, monitoring communications and praying to deities he was not sure he believed in anymore. The rescue team reached the council station quickly. Helen brought the shuttle into a docking bay near the damaged section. Through the communication channel, Kelrith could hear them moving rapidly through corridors. Okay, assess the situation. Jake's voice was calm but focused. Katie, what do you see? Main corridor is blocked by debris. Secondary access point has structural damage. We will need to traverse the damaged section to reach the trapped workers. Atmospheric integrity? Compromised in sections. We will need suits for the final approach. And Ambassador, I am not going to lie, this structure is not stable. We will be working in dangerous conditions. Kelrith listened as the team discussed options with a speed that bewildered him. They evaluated risks, assigned roles, and made decisions in seconds that would take council committees hours to process. This was what Jake had meant. Their recreational danger was training for moments exactly like this. Danny, you take point on the breach seal. Use whatever materials you can find. It does not have to be perfect, just has to hold pressure long enough for extraction. Katie, you and I are on rescue operations. We will go into the damaged sections and bring out the workers. Ryan, you coordinate movement on the stable side. Jarn, your strength will be crucial for moving debris and carrying injured people. They moved into action. Katie used climbing equipment to traverse a corridor where the floor had partially collapsed. Her experience scaling rock faces translated directly to navigating the damaged station. She moved with confidence across surfaces that would have frozen most species with fear. Danny improvised a pressure seal using materials that were never designed for that purpose. But he understood principles of physics and engineering in practical, hands-on ways. His years of outdoor survival training had taught him to solve problems with whatever was available. Jake and Katie entered the damaged compartment where workers were trapped. The area was losing atmosphere steadily. The trapped workers from 6 different species were huddled together trying to conserve oxygen. Everyone stay calm, Jake's voice came through the communication system. We are here to get you out. Follow our instructions exactly. They began extracting workers one by one. Some were injured and had to be carried. This was where Jarn's strength proved invaluable. The Krolix warrior carried people who no human could have lifted, moving through dangerous terrain with a courage he had not possessed a week earlier. Ryan coordinated the evacuation on the safer side, organizing workers as they arrived and directing them toward medical facilities. Mira provided psychological support, keeping frightened workers calm and focused. Lax used his engineering knowledge to reinforce structural points, buying them precious additional time. But then complications arose. One worker was pinned under debris. Jake and Katie worked to free him, but a secondary collapse threatened to trap all 3 of them. The damaged section was breaking apart faster than anticipated. Morrison, you need to leave now. Helen's voice carried urgency from the shuttle. The structure is failing. You have maybe 2 minutes before catastrophic collapse. Not leaving without this worker, Jake replied. His voice remained calm, even as alarms blared around him. Jake, if that section fails, you all die, Ryan argued. 17 workers saved versus 3 lost. The math is clear. I did not come here to do math, Jake said. I came here to save lives. All of them. Kelrith listened with his hearts pounding. This was the moment, the choice between safety and risk, between protocols and courage. He understood now why humans sought recreational danger. They were practicing for moments when danger was not recreational at all. Katie's voice came through. I have an idea. Give me 30 seconds. She used climbing rope and anchoring techniques, creating a mechanical advantage system that let them shift the debris. It was improvised, dangerous, and brilliant. The worker came free. Jake grabbed him and they moved toward the exit. The section began to fail just as they cleared it. Metal groaned and tore. Atmosphere vented violently. But they were out, all of them, moving through the last stable corridor as destruction followed behind them. The final count showed 17 workers rescued, every single one alive. The human-led team had extracted them with 7 minutes to spare before the section completely collapsed. Council emergency equipment arrived 90 minutes later to find the rescue already complete. Kelrith met them as they disembarked from the shuttle. Jake's suit was damaged. Katie had a cut across her forehead. Danny's hands were burned from handling hot materials. Ryan was exhausted from managing the complex extraction. Jarn's arm hung at an odd angle, clearly fractured. But they were all smiling. You did it, Kelrith said. The words felt inadequate. We did it together, Jake corrected. Humans, Krolix, Pelion, Mendari. Everyone contributed. That is what cooperation looks like when you move beyond protocols and trust people to use their skills. Dr. Lisa Hamilton joined them, having monitored the entire operation from Earth. Ambassador, I have been analyzing data from the rescue. The team faced dozens of decisions that required immediate action. Council procedures would have required committee review, risk assessment documents, and authorization chains. Those procedures are designed to maximize safety, but they assume you have time. Today, there was no time. The council meeting 3 days later was unlike any in its long history. Every delegate had reviewed Kelrith's report. Every delegate had watched recordings of the rescue operation, and every delegate had an opinion about what it meant. Kelrith stood at his platform, preparing to make his final recommendation. The weight of the decision pressed on him. Humanity's future in galactic civilization rested on what happened in this chamber today. Honorable delegates, he began. I have completed my investigation of Earth and its people. What I discovered has challenged my understanding of intelligence, civilization, and progress. I will present my findings without bias and let you judge for yourselves. The main display activated, showing images and data from his time on Earth. Humans falling through the sky. Humans climbing impossible walls. Humans facing challenges that other species would flee from instinctively. When I first saw these activities, I believed humans were psychologically unstable. How could any rational being seek danger for pleasure? But I was asking the wrong question. The question is not why humans seek danger. The question is what they gain from it. Kelrith pulled up analysis from Dr. Lisa Hamilton's research. Earth's evolutionary history shows extreme environmental volatility. Humans survived not through biological specialization, but through adaptability, intelligence, and crucially, courage. Their recreational danger maintains psychological and physical traits that proved crucial for survival. He showed clips from interviews with participants. Katie explaining the joy of skydiving, Ryan describing the puzzle of climbing, Helen talking about respect for the ocean's power. Every human had articulated not recklessness, but calculated engagement with risk. Humans implement extensive safety measures, Kelrith continued. Training requirements, equipment standards, emergency protocols. They do not seek danger mindlessly. They assess risks, prepare thoroughly, and accept consequences. Their risk tolerance is higher than ours, but their risk management is sophisticated. A delegate from the Vaxxer Combine interrupted. Ambassador Kelrith, none of this changes the fundamental concern. Humans are demonstrably more willing to accept danger than council species. This could destabilize our safety culture. What happens when our own people begin adopting human behaviors? Kelrith had expected this objection. An excellent question. In fact, I have direct experience with this concern. He gestured to Jarn, who stood at the warrior species section with his arm in a healing brace. Jarn stepped forward. I participated in human rock climbing during the investigation. It was against my nature, against my training, against every instinct my people developed. And it was one of the most valuable experiences of my life. Murmurs spread through the chamber. A Krolix warrior, admitting to recreational danger was unprecedented. I did not become reckless, Jarn continued. I did not abandon caution or ignore safety. But I discovered capabilities I did not know I possessed. I learned that facing fear makes you stronger, not weaker. I understood that challenge is necessary for growth. These lessons came from climbing a wall in a controlled environment, but they apply to every aspect of my duties. Quendo, the xenopsychologist, added his analysis. I interviewed over 200 humans during our investigation. Their psychological profiles show remarkable resilience, adaptability, and emotional regulation. They report lower anxiety levels than most council species despite engaging in objectively dangerous activities. Their recreational danger appears to serve as stress inoculation, building mental toughness that transfers to other life areas. Mira presented her sociological findings. Human recreational danger fosters community bonds. People who face challenges together develop deep trust and cooperation. Their adventure communities show levels of social cohesion we rarely observe in council societies. This is not individualistic recklessness, but collective courage. The debate continued for hours. Conservative delegates argued that human influence was too risky. Progressive delegates suggested that council civilization had grown stagnant and could benefit from human perspective. Military representatives noted the rescue operation's success. Scientists wanted to study human psychology further. Finally, Jake Morrison was given the opportunity to address the council directly. He stood at the center platform, a single human facing judgment from representatives of 17 star systems. "I have listened to your concerns," Jake said. "You worry that we will make your people less safe. You worry that our influence will corrupt your careful civilization. You worry that we do not value life because we risk it so readily. I understand these concerns, but I want you to understand something about humanity." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "We value life intensely precisely because we understand its fragility. Every human who jumps from an aircraft, who climbs a mountain, who rides ocean waves, does so with full awareness that they are mortal. We do not take life for granted because we cannot take it for granted. Our planet taught us that survival is never guaranteed. That lesson shaped who we are. But beyond survival, we believe life should be lived fully. Safety is important, but it is not the only thing that matters. Growth matters. Experience matters. Challenge matters. When you eliminate all risk, you eliminate opportunities for courage, for achievement, for discovering what you are truly capable of. You exist, but do you truly live?" The chamber fell silent. Jake's words echoed in the vast space. "You have built a civilization on safety, and that is admirable. You have maintained peace for 3,000 years, and that is extraordinary. But in your pursuit of safety, have you lost something essential? When was the last time any of you felt truly challenged? When did you last push your limits, face your fears, discover capabilities you did not know you had?" He turned slowly, addressing different sections of the chamber. "We are not asking you to abandon safety. We are not trying to make everyone into skydivers or rock climbers. We are offering a different perspective. That calculated risk can be valuable. That challenge can be healthy. That courage is a virtue worth cultivating. 3 days ago, 17 workers needed rescue. Council protocols would have taken 2 hours. They had 30 minutes. My team saved them not because we were reckless, but because our recreational danger had trained us for exactly that kind of situation. Quick decisions, improvised solutions, comfort working in hazardous conditions, trust in each other's abilities, all of it came from skills we developed through activities you consider terrifying." Jake's voice grew stronger. "Humanity wants to join the council not to change it, but to contribute to it. We offer skills in emergency response, exploration, and situations requiring calculated risk. We offer perspective on resilience, adaptability, and courage. We offer friendship to species who have forgotten what it means to be challenged. We are not perfect, but we are honest about who we are. The question is whether the council can accept us as we are." He stepped back, his statement complete. The chamber remained quiet for a long moment. Then Kelrith activated his speaking platform. "I have spent my entire career evaluating civilizations for council membership. I have assessed technology, social structures, diplomatic capabilities, and cultural compatibility. Never have I encountered a species as unusual as humanity. Never have I been so challenged to make a recommendation." He looked directly at Jake. "But after careful consideration, after direct observation, after watching humans risk their lives to save council workers, I have reached my conclusion. Humanity should be granted membership. Not despite their recreational danger, but because of what it represents. They have skills we lack, perspectives we need, and courage we have forgotten. I recommend full membership with an additional proposal. Humans should staff a new emergency response division and lead reformed exploration efforts." The vote was called. Delegates conferred, argued, and ultimately decided. The results appeared on the main display. 58% in favor of human membership. It was close, but it was enough. Jake felt tension drain from his body. Katie, watching from the visitor section, wiped tears from her eyes. Danny and Ryan exchanged high fives, a human gesture of celebration. Dr. Hamilton smiled with quiet satisfaction. Kelrith approached Jake as the chamber began to empty. Congratulations, Commander Morrison. Welcome to the Galactic Council. Thank you, Ambassador, for everything. For giving us a fair investigation. For being willing to question your own assumptions. For taking risks when protocol said to wait. 6 months after Earth joined the Galactic Council, the changes were visible throughout Council space. The Emergency Response Division operated from a new facility built specifically for rapid deployment. Jake Morrison directed operations from a command center that combined human intuition with Council technology. The division's first major test came sooner than anyone expected. A mining colony in the Outer Rim sent a distress signal. Geological instability had triggered cascading failures in underground habitats. Thousands of civilians were trapped in collapsing tunnels. Conventional rescue operations would take days to organize. The colonists had hours at most. Jake stood in the command center, reviewing data streams from the disaster site. Katie Logan, now chief instructor of the Vertical Rescue Academy, analyzed structural information. Danny Pierce examined equipment manifests. Ryan Cooper coordinated with local authorities. Helen Price prepared their fastest transport ships. How bad is it? Kelrith asked. He served as council liaison to the division, a role that kept him constantly busy and, surprisingly, constantly energized. Bad, Jake admitted. Multiple cave-ins, failing life support, and the whole system is still unstable. We are going to need teams working in extremely dangerous conditions. Standard protocol would be to wait for the situation to stabilize. But standard protocol would result in massive casualties, Kelrith finished. He had learned to think like the humans over the past months. What is your recommendation? We deploy immediately with mixed teams. Humans for technical rescue operations, but we need council species too. Krolix for heavy work, Pelion for tight spaces, Mendari for engineering support. This is going to take everyone working together. Within 3 hours, 5 transport ships departed for the Outer Rim. Each carried mixed crews trained in the new emergency response protocols. Jarn led one team, his climbing skills now advanced and his confidence transformed. Other council members who had completed training programs accompanied human specialists. The journey took 14 hours. During that time, teams reviewed plans, checked equipment, and mentally prepared for what awaited. In one transport, Katie explained tunnel rescue techniques to a group of young Pelion volunteers. In another, Ryan demonstrated rope systems to Krolix warriors, who had discovered they enjoyed technical challenges. They arrived to find the situation worse than initial reports suggested. The colony had been built in ancient lava tubes, using natural formations for shelter. But recent seismic activity had destabilized the entire network. Sections were collapsing unpredictably. Atmosphere was venting through cracks, and over 2,000 colonists were spread across dozens of isolated pockets. Jake established a command post on the surface. Helen coordinated air support, dropping supplies to accessible areas. Teams descended into the tunnels. Each group assigned specific sectors and extraction routes. Katie's team included 3 Pelion specialists and 2 Krolix warriors. Their sector had 7 trapped families in a habitat that was losing pressure. Standard access was blocked, but Katie identified an alternative route through a partially collapsed maintenance tunnel. This is going to be tight and unstable, she warned her team. We move carefully, we watch for shifting debris, and we back out if conditions deteriorate too much. Everyone understand? The Pelion specialists, naturally suited for confined spaces, took point. Katie followed, placing protective barriers and securing rope systems as they advanced. The Krolix warriors waited at the entry point, ready to help evacuate rescued colonists. They worked for 3 hours in darkness lit only by headlamps, crawling through spaces barely large enough for human bodies. Katie's rock climbing experience translated perfectly to navigating the broken tunnels. She assessed handholds, tested weight-bearing surfaces, and found paths where others saw only obstacles. They reached the trapped colonists just as the habitat's life support failed completely. Families huddled together, parents protecting children, everyone terrified but disciplined. Katie's team distributed emergency breathing equipment and began the extraction. "We're going back through the tunnel we came through," Katie explained to the colonists. "It is going to be scary, but it is safe if you follow instructions exactly. Adults, you will carry children. My team will guide you. Trust us and trust each other." The evacuation was slow and terrifying. Colonists who had never experienced confined spaces had to crawl through collapsed sections. Several panic attacks occurred, but Katie and her Pelian teammates talked people through their fears. The Krolix warriors carried injured and elderly colonists who could not navigate the tunnel themselves. Meanwhile, Danny Pierce faced a different challenge in another sector. A major habitat held over 300 people, but the only access was through a flooded tunnel. The water was contaminated, visibility was zero, and the route involved navigating through twisted wreckage. Danny had years of cave diving experience. He entered the flooded tunnel with lighting equipment and guide ropes, mapping a safe path. Behind him, volunteers who had trained in water rescue techniques prepared to escort colonists through the submerged section. It was dangerous work. The tunnel contained sharp metal edges, the water pressure was unstable, and one wrong turn could be fatal. But Danny moved with confidence born from hundreds of recreational cave dives on Earth. He knew how to read water flow, how to navigate by touch when visibility failed, how to manage breathing equipment in challenging conditions. He established a guide rope system through the flooded section. Then teams began bringing colonists through in small groups, each person secured to guides, each movement carefully controlled. It took hours, but all 300 people were extracted safely. Ryan Cooper coordinated surface operations, managing the complex logistics of receiving rescued colonists, providing medical care, and organizing continued rescue efforts. His team included council members from 8 different species, all working together with an efficiency that would have been impossible 6 months earlier. The rescue operation lasted 3 full days. Teams worked in rotating shifts, pushing themselves to exhaustion and then pushing further. Cave-ins threatened workers. Equipment failures created setbacks. Unexpected complications arose constantly. But the teams adapted, improvised, and persevered. Jake barely slept during the operation. He monitored all teams, made tactical decisions, and provided support wherever it was needed. Kelrith worked beside him, the ambassador having fully embraced his role in the Emergency Response Division. 17 more colonists extracted from Sector 9, a report came through. Katie's team is bringing them up now. Flooding contained in Sector 12, another update arrived. Danny's dive teams prevented total habitat loss. Structural reinforcement complete in Sector 4, a Mendari engineer reported. Ryan's teams can proceed with evacuation. The updates continued through day and night cycles. Progress was measured in lives saved, one person at a time, one family at a time, one community at a time. On the 3rd day, the final colonist was brought to the surface. The count showed 2,247 people rescued from what had seemed like an impossible situation. 14 had died in the initial collapses before rescue teams arrived, but everyone else survived because humans and council species had worked together, accepting necessary risks to save lives. The rescue teams emerged exhausted, injured, and triumphant. Katie had a broken finger and dozens of cuts from sharp rocks. Danny was severely dehydrated from 3 days in contaminated water. Ryan had strained muscles from coordinating heavy equipment. Jarn had refractured his arm but had refused to stop working until the last colonist was safe. Jake greeted each team as they returned to the surface. He shook hands, offered thanks, and made sure everyone received medical attention. These were his people now, human and alien working side by side, united by courage and purpose. News of the rescue spread quickly through council space. Media outlets covered the story from every angle. The Emergency Response Division became famous overnight. But more importantly, attitudes toward humanity began to shift. Species that had voted against Earth's membership watched the rescue operation and reconsidered. Conservative delegates who had warned about human influence saw mixed teams working with incredible effectiveness. Even skeptics had to acknowledge that humans had brought something valuable to the council. 3 months later, the Vertical Rescue Academy opened to students from across council space. Katie stood before the first class, looking at faces from a dozen different species, all eager to learn skills that had been unthinkable before humans arrived. Rescue work is about more than physical skills, she told them. It is about courage, adaptability, and the willingness to face danger for others. You are here because you want to help, because you believe some things are worth the risk. We are going to train you to be the best rescue specialists in the galaxy. It will be hard work. It will be scary sometimes, but it will be worth it. Danny expanded his cave diving instruction program. Ryan developed advanced rope rescue techniques adapted for different species' physiology. Helen established pilot training for emergency response in extreme conditions. Humans shared their knowledge freely, and council species proved surprisingly capable students. Jarn became an advocate for what he called challenge culture within the Krolix military. His warriors began training in technical skills that complemented their natural strength. The combination of Krolix power and human technique created rescue capabilities neither species could achieve alone. Other species followed the Krolix example. Pelian specialists used their natural flexibility in combination with climbing techniques. Mendari engineers applied human-style improvisation to technical problems. Even Kelrith's people from Zenthar Prime began questioning whether their obsession with safety had prevented growth. A year after Earth's admission, the Galactic Adventure Festival took place on Earth. Representatives from 40 council species attended. The event showcased human recreational activities, all carefully adapted for different species' capabilities and comfort levels. Kelrith attended the festival, accepting Jake's personal invitation. They stood at the edge of a river where whitewater rafting demonstrations were taking place. Boats bounced through rapids while participants laughed and shouted with excitement. You know, Kelrith said, when I first investigated Earth, I thought recreational danger was humanity's greatest liability. Now I wonder if it might be your greatest gift to the galaxy. Jake smiled. It is not really about the activities themselves. It is about the mindset. Being willing to face challenges. Not letting fear control you. Understanding that growth requires discomfort. Those lessons apply to everything, not just jumping from aircraft or climbing rocks. Would you believe me if I told you I have been considering trying one of these activities? Kelrith asked. Jake turned to look at the ambassador. Really? Which one? You suggested whitewater rafting once. Perhaps it is time I accepted that invitation. They arranged for Kelrith to join a beginner rafting trip the next day. The ambassador spent a sleepless night questioning his sanity. But when morning came, he put on the safety equipment, boarded the raft, and committed himself to the experience. The river was beautiful and terrifying. The raft bounced through rapids, water splashing over the sides, the current pulling them forward with irresistible force. Kelrith gripped the safety handles and tried to remember breathing techniques Katie had taught him. Then something unexpected happened. Between rapids, in a calm section of river, Kelrith relaxed slightly. He noticed the scenery, the teamwork of the paddlers, the skill of their guide. He realized he was not just surviving the experience, but actually engaging with it. When they hit the next rapid, Kelrith felt fear, but also excitement. His heart raced not just with terror, but with something else, exhilaration. For the first time in his long life, he understood what humans meant when they said danger made them feel alive. The trip ended after 2 hours. Kelrith emerged soaked, exhausted, and grinning. Jake met him at the landing site. So, Jake asked, what did you think? Kelrith struggled to find words. I think I understand now. Really understand. Not just intellectually, but emotionally. When you face something challenging, when you push past fear, you discover parts of yourself you never knew existed. It is not about seeking danger for its own sake. It is about growth, about life, about refusing to be defined by your limitations. Welcome to the human perspective, Jake said. Though I suppose it is not just human anymore. It is spreading. And it was spreading. Across council space, species that had spent millennia avoiding challenge were beginning to seek it. Not recklessly, but purposefully. Climbing gyms appeared on multiple worlds. Adventure tourism became popular. Training programs that combined safety with calculated risk attracted millions of participants. More importantly, the psychological benefits became apparent. Anxiety levels decreased in populations that engaged with challenge-based activities. Depression rates fell. Confidence and resilience increased. Species discovered that facing controlled dangers made them better equipped to handle life's uncontrolled challenges. The Galactic Council had accepted humanity as a mysterious and slightly terrifying new member. 1 year later, humanity had become one of the Council's most valued contributors, not because they had changed to fit Council norms, but because they had remained authentically human and helped others discover strengths they did not know they possessed. Jake Morrison stood on Earth, looking up at the stars, knowing that human ships were traveling to dozens of worlds, that human techniques were saving lives across the galaxy, and that human courage was inspiring entire civilizations to embrace challenge rather than flee from it. Recreational danger had been the Council's greatest mystery. Now it was becoming their greatest strength. And the galaxy, ancient and vast and carefully safe for so long, was learning to feel alive again. Kelrith made a sound that might have been laughter. It seems I have learned something from humanity already. Sometimes the safe choice is not the right choice. Sometimes courage matters more than protocols. What happens now? Jake asked. Now we begin the real work. Integrating your people into Council operations. Establishing the Emergency Response Division. Training programs for species interested in learning from human techniques. It will be complicated, controversial, and challenging. I suspect you will enjoy it. Jake grinned. You suspect correctly. Kelrith looked at the rescued workers being treated by medical teams. All 17 were alive because humans had ignored proper protocols and relied on training they acquired through recreational danger. Climbing skills, improvisation abilities, quick decision-making, comfort with risk. All of it had come together to save lives. I need to make my report to the Council, Kelrith said quietly. I need to tell them what I have learned. Jake put a hand on the ambassador's shoulder. Tell them the truth. Tell them that humans are different but not dangerous. Tell them that we face risks because we understand that some things are worth the danger. Tell them that we want to be part of the Council not to change who they are, but to offer what we can bring. Kelrith nodded slowly. I will tell them everything. I only hope they will understand. His people, they were safe, stable, and content. But were they happy? Did they feel alive? When was the last time he had felt truly challenged, truly tested? I do not know, he admitted finally. They sat in silence for a while, watching the fire burn. Above them, stars from 17 systems shone with cold, distant light. Kelrith realized that for the first time in his long life, he was questioning beliefs he had always considered absolute truths. Tomorrow is our last day of observation, Jake said. What would you like to see? I would like to understand one more thing, Kelrith replied. You say recreational danger builds skills and resilience. Can you show me how those qualities translate to situations where they truly matter? Not recreation, but real challenges? Jake and Sophie exchanged glances. Yes, Jake said. I think we can arrange something that will demonstrate that. It might not be comfortable to watch, but it will be honest. Kelrith nodded. I am here to understand truth, not comfort. Show me. RNS and sometimes crashed spectacularly. Chris Parker demonstrated advanced techniques, launching his bicycle off ramps and performing aerial tricks before landing and continuing down the trail. The investigation team watched in growing disbelief. Each new activity seemed more dangerous than the last, yet humans approached them with casual confidence. On the third day, they visited a martial arts facility. Tyler Brooks, the head instructor, explained that humans had been practicing combat sports for thousands of years. Boxing, wrestling, judo, karate, and dozens of other styles existed across different cultures. We are not trying to hurt each other, Tyler explained. We are training, learning, testing ourselves. Martial arts teach discipline, respect, and self-control. Kelrith watched two students sparring. They struck each other with controlled force, grappled for position, and ultimately ended their match with a bow of mutual respect. Add is one word for it. Fixtal looked at her mentor. Do you think they are dangerous, Ambassador? Kelrith watched the humans leave the chamber. They walked with easy confidence, completely unbothered by the Council's concerns. I do not know yet, but I intend to find out. Prepare the investigation team. We leave for Earth in 2 days. As the Council chamber slowly emptied, Kelrith remained at his station, staring at the images of humans falling through the sky with smiles on their faces. In all his centuries of diplomatic service, he had never encountered anything quite like this. Humanity was either the galaxy's greatest hope or its most terrifying mystery. He suspected he would soon discover which,